Welcome to Chai Travels. I have been to every single country in Central America, and in this video I will show you what you can do in Costa Rica in 10 days. Before we get started, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Costa Rica, a rugged, rainforested Central American country with coastlines on the Caribbean and the Pacific. This country has such a diversity and is best known for its beaches and its biodiversity. However, there is so much more to see and do here, which I will cover in this video. Roughly a quarter of its area is made up of protected jungle teeming with wildlife. The country is pretty modern, especially when compared to some of its Central American neighbors. Public transportation isn't very good in this country, so you will need to get a car to get around. You will most likely arrive in San Jose, and even when landing in the country you can see dense forest cover and vegetation. In San Jose you can go to the National Museum and learn about the history of the country and the National Theatre. If you are looking for some souvenirs, you can check out the Mercado Central. You can start bright and early and drive about 90 minutes from San Jose to see the Irazu Volcano. It last erupted in the 1960s and is near the former capital of the country. There is no lava lake or a crater lake, just volcanic soil and an empty crater here, but it does offer some great views. Within 2 hours, clouds came in and everything went under the cloud cover and became obscure, so you have to plan to get there early in the morning. From there, you can go to the former capital city of Cartago to see Basilica de Nuestra Señora de Los Angeles, which is a beautiful church. You can wander around in the city to see some ruins and how the former capital was. Cartago being very close to the volcano, the capital was moved away from the volcano. You can then drive from Cartago to Quepos to go to Manuel Antonio National Park. This is a park with good wildlife that is relatively easy to access and see. The animals hang out near the trails, and having a guide to show you around helps a lot as they know where the animals are located. I saw some lizards, monkeys and a sloth that was deep in the trees. The end of the trail leads to a nice beautiful beach where I saw a bunch of crabs walking around. On the way back I saw a few capuchin monkeys. They were not afraid of people, nor were they afraid of taking selfies. I touched the tail of one of them and it was so very smooth. The monkey didn't really mind either. From there, head over to Drake Bay in Osa Peninsula, which is a beautiful drive, but be sure to watch out for water on the roads. You have to go to Corcovado National Park as it is considered as one of the most biodiverse places in the world, with about 2% of the world's plant and animal species living here. There are 2 stations and I went to Sierpe as that is known for the fauna found here and is about an hour and a half by boat to the entrance. You need to go on a guided tour and the tour lasts about 4 hours. You can see numerous birds, monkeys, wild boars, sloths, anteaters, crocodiles, tapirs, and many more small animals and lizards. Pumas also inhabit the region but are extremely rare to see. Finally, some beach time. I drove from Drake Bay to the surfing town of Jaco, which is very popular for surfing. You can see surf shops all around the town and many surfers trying to catch a wave. I took some surfing lessons and even managed to get up and stand on the board and ride out a few waves too. You can then head to the town and check out the artisan market and the souvenir shops. Another volcano day, but this is much better. The Poás Volcano Park opens at 8 AM and is clear only in early morning, after which the clouds set in, so you have to plan to get there early. There is often a brief video introduction where you'll be given hard hats in case the rocks fall on your heads. This volcano has one of the widest circumference and there is an algae lake inside of it. You can then head over to the Monteverde Cloud Forest Biological Preserve. known as the mountain where you can touch the clouds. At the entrance, you can usually find some coyotes which are not shy of humans. There are numerous hikes here, and I chose one which leads to a suspension bridge. At the end of the trail leads to the continental divide, whether if the water falls a few feet apart would go in completely opposite directions, one to the Pacific and one to the Caribbean. This is the continental divide. The water that falls on this side will flow into the Atlantic Ocean, and the water that falls here will go into the Pacific Ocean. Even though the water falls a couple of meters apart, they travel hundreds of kilometers in different directions, and that is the continental divide. From there, you can head over to the beautiful and scenic La Fortuna with its numerous hot springs and hot spring river with Irazu Volcano in the backdrop. I stayed in a hotel that was in a beautiful green ranch with some cattle and a small pond with numerous birds all over. You have to take a dip in the Tapacon River. This river carries thermal water from various hot springs and is free to access. The water was very warm and comfortable, but the views were much more fantastic. The water flows through a jungle and doesn't have much pressure, making it fantastic to sit and soak in the water. You can then go on a tour of chocolate and coffee, where you can learn about the history and process of coffee and chocolate making. You can see sloths, vultures, poison dart frogs in the park as well. From there, you can head over to Liberia and you can take a tour to the Hacienda Guachipelin hotel, where they had numerous activities: horseback riding, jumping from a waterfall, tubing and ziplining. The last activity was my favorite: mud bath and hot springs. They had volcanic mud for us to put on, let it dry in the sun for a while, and then wash it off in the river, and then jump into the hot springs. They had about 10 hot springs of varying temperature, with hot springs on either side of the river, where one can cross the river to get to the other side or take a long suspension bridge. On the last day, you can go to the Rincón de la Vieja National Park. The park is famous for its thermal activity, and I saw some boiling mud pots and a steam coming out of the ground that smells of sulfur. They called it Little Volcano. So there you have it, my 10-day itinerary for Costa Rica. It is a safe country with modern infrastructure and facilities. Let me know in the comment section below if you have visited Costa Rica.